Welcome back to SpeterTV, and let's talk about one of the biggest topics of the past few years, and what I had as the biggest cartoon topic of last year. Reboots. Just reboots in general, the idea of reboots. Now over the past few years there have been a bunch of reboots, and when you think about them, it seems like you think of the bad ones first, or at least the ones that get the most negative attention. Like, case in point, and I know they're front and center on the thumbnail, but the new Powerpuff Girls. I mean, it's been almost 2 years now, it's not really that new. But the point is, odds are it is probably one of the first reboots to come to your mind, and odds are also that you're probably not particularly fond of it. You might not hate it, you might not even watch it enough to care, kind of like me, but it's probably one of the first ones you think of. Or if you consider it a reboot, Teen Titans Go probably came to mind too. I'm not fully sure if I consider it a reboot or not because the characters are comic characters to begin with. Part of my mind wants to consider it just another take on the comic characters, but another part of my mind realizes that it's the same voice cast and the character designs are taken straight from the last show, so it probably counts. And again, despite its large viewership, the majority opinion seems to be negative. And then, I guess, to round off the Cartoon Network shows, Ben 10. Now, I feel like I've heard strangely little about the Ben 10 reboot. Like, I've seen it, but I haven't watched it, and I didn't really watch the original one that much either, and I just don't really hear people talking about it much, so I don't really know what the opinion is on it. The fact that I haven't heard too much either way is sort of a bad sign, but also sort of a good sign, I guess. It's a really middling sign, so I'm assuming the show might be sort of a middling reboot. If you have an opinion, please feel free to let me know. I'd love to hear what anyone thinks about this show. But I think my point stands that the word reboot now makes people way more worried than it does excited. Like, unless you heard that Marvel is rebooting Fantastic Four now that they have the rights, I'm not sure most people would be too excited to hear anything's getting rebooted. Cautious optimism seems to be sort of the max on reboots now. But I don't remember this always being the case. But it seems like now in 2018 and past few years, we've just become reboot fatigued. Now, as you can probably tell from my name and icon, I'm a Spider-Man fan. And when people think of movie reboots, they think of Spider-Man. And that's because Spider-Man was rebooted twice in a decade. That's 3 separate film series starting from 2002 to now. Now, the first reboot, The Amazing Spider-Man, was 10 years after their first movie, but it was only 5 years after their last movie. That's not a whole lot longer than you might wait for a sequel. And then that movie got its own sequel 2 years later. And then 2 years after that, we got a new Spider-Man in Civil War, and then the year after that, we got a whole new Spider-Man movie. So that's a whole lot of Spidey in a short amount of time. So that's how Spider-Man pretty much became the face of movie reboots. Though if you think about it, if you consider Batman Begins a reboot to the Burton and Schumacher films, then you could say Batman was rebooted first, and he's been rebooted again with Ben Affleck and wherever they're doing in the DCEU right now. But I say all of this to say that reboots are not new, but they're not really old either. They're old enough to say that we're kind of tired of them, but they're so young still that I think we don't really know what to do with the concept. Reboots have largely replaced remakes. We've had remakes for a while, we've had sequels for a while, but a reboot, that term sort of brings more baggage with it. Now when we hear that a reboot is coming, we tend to think that either a company is making a play on our nostalgia for a cash grab, or they're just sort of beating a dead horse, or in rare cases, we think that they're bringing back something that deserves to be brought back. And it's even more rare for us to trust them to do it well. So when we hear reboot, we don't really know what to think, we just sort of err on the side of caution. But I'm wondering, do we have enough good examples now to take each reboot on its own merit? We do have Batman Begins and the whole Dark Knight trilogy. We do have Spider-Man Homecoming if you enjoyed that as much as I do. We have the DuckTales reboot that people love. Reboots can be a good thing, they can be a great thing. They can improve, refresh, revitalize a franchise. But despite that, and I think this is my last point here, is there something bad about the idea of a reboot no matter how it turns out? People want originality, they love originality, but it's so hard to be original and appealing. You can be so original that I have no idea what you are, so I can't get invested in whatever you are. You can't be so off the wall that people have no frame of reference. But even then, originality is all relative. We haven't made anything that's truly original. We're always inspired by something when we make something else. Every day it gets harder to think of something new, but people still try it. And creatives tend to respect people who try something new. So is there something just inherently creatively bad about the idea of reboots? Me, I don't think so. I think they have value if you do it right, or even if you do it wrong. But I could see how you would think that reboots as a whole are just too big of a crutch. But I don't know. Tell me what you think. Thanks for watching. Like this video if you like it, dislike it if you dislike it. Feel free to subscribe if you want. Feel free to share it. What else is there? I keep forgetting what else there is, you know? You've seen other videos. Just go watch the end of somebody else's video and do whatever they say to do there on this video. I mean, the end of this video wasn't going to be original anyway, so go do whatever someone else says on their video and do that here, I guess. Like, comment, share, reboot your device.